Please rise. Meeting will now come to order. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. The Putnam County Commission is now in session. The Honorable Chair, Ben Rogers, presiding. All those here tonight having business before this commission, draw nigh, come forth, and ye shall be heard. God bless this great United States and the state of Tennessee. God bless Putnam County and this honorable commission. Mr. Chair, I find these premises to be in order.
Thank you, Major. Appreciate you being here. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the July County Commission meeting. I will say we have technical difficulties with our speakers. The weather wasn't good to us this weekend, so I'm not real sure which microphones are working. The speakers behind me are the ones that you hear. You'll hear some feedback, some static. We do apologize. Have some grace and be patient with us. We promise to get through this. Okay, invocation, District 12.
Now, Lord, we come before you tonight thanking you for the opportunity to do the business of this county. We thank you for the freedoms that we enjoy in this country, in this county, so that we can do so. We thank you for the citizens that we serve. We please never let us forget that we are servants. We thank you for the opportunity that we have to serve. We ask your blessings on this meeting for a better future for our children, for our grandchildren, and for us. We thank you for the opportunities that you give us daily through our lives to do the things that we do. We thank you for the freedom that we have to worship as we choose, and we thank you for the sacrifice that your Son made so that we have a hope of eternal life with you. In Christ's name we pray.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I do want to thank our IT department for getting us hooked up with some sound. Otherwise, I would be screaming at you, and that would not be good. So thank you, IT department, all the guys. Appreciate your help. All right, so let's get started. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll also ask you to be very patient in the not only in the PA system, but in the update of the system. We've had to go back a day or two to the way we kind of did it because the updates, we just didn't do those. We're going to do something a little bit different. So bear with me tonight. Take your handsets and just press yes. Press yes and stop right there for me. Press yes and stop right there, please. All right. Now I need everybody to press confirm for me. Everybody press confirm. This is the way we used to do it. Excellent. We're off to a good start. Hallelujah. All right, Mr. Chairman, all 24 are present, which constitutes a quorum. I declare.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Number 5, approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any discussion on the agenda? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have an approved agenda. Number 6, approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Have a motion second. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have approved minutes. Unfinished business and action thereon by the board. Report of standing committees. Planning Committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fiscal Review Committee. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Nominating Committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Report of Special Committees. That is me. Budget Committee. Consideration of the Putnam County Fiscal Year 2023-2024 County Budget presented by the Budget Committee. So let me go through a couple things before we start so everybody is aware and the process is transparent on how we proceed with our voting tonight on the fiscal year budget. The way we historically do it, we're going to start with approving the funds of each individual funds, and I'll actually entertain a motion to approve all consolidated funds in one motion. But before I get to that, if any commissioner wants to amend any fund, When this motion is made and second, that's the time to do that. So I will entertain a motion. We can vote on funds individually. We've done that in the past. We've went through 101 all the way down to the school fund, 141, which, that's just voting on individual funds. What's the difference? So the difference is, one is time, and we're not here to rush, but one is time. The other thing is 5-5-112 in the Tennessee Code Annotated talks about county commissioners who are employees. So any county commissioner that's an employee would have to abstain from voting on a budget that their salary is paid out of if they stand to get a raise, if we vote on individual funds. So if we vote on 101, we have a couple commissioners that would have to abstain from voting. Or how many do we have? I know we do have one for sure. Then the same thing for the schools. If you work for the school system, you would have to abstain from voting if we vote on individual funds. If we consolidate all the funds together, there's no abstention, but you as county employees have to declare a conflict of interest and basically state you're voting with your conscience even though you understand you're an employee of the county. So we're going to do that. If we don't get a motion to vote on consolidated funds, then I'll ask you all I'll ask you all that we do vote on consolidated funds to read that. If we vote on individual funds, you will not be able to vote on that fund only. You can still vote on the tax levy, the nonprofit, and the appropriation resolution according to the law. Does anyone have any questions from the commission about voting on the budget? So I will entertain a motion to start to do consolidated. If I don't get a motion, then we'll go to each fund. Or if I get a motion and it doesn't pass, we'll go to each fund. So I'll just give them the commission an option. Okay?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just as a point of order, it's not only a commissioner that's a county employee, it would be a spouse?
Yes.
Spouse, yes.
Or children, or just spouse?
Just spouse.
Just spouse.
Does anybody have a spouse that I'm not aware of working for the
Mary still
county?
work for the church?
Mary still works for the school system?
Yes.
So Mr. Holmes in the schools. Okay. Any other questions? Somebody say something?
I was going to do a motion, but you go ahead and finish.
Before we get into it, I want to recognize Mayor Porter. He was going to talk about some of the budgets meetings that we did and let you know some things, and then we'll entertain a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I just wanted to say what a good job that the Budget Committee did in working through this. They had a lot of meetings, worked through some difficult situations, pay scale studies, and all kinds of budgets. Probably the toughest budget in my career that I've seen come to the County Commission. But they did a great job in working through that and very professional. The only thing I wanted to say to you tonight is and this is the same thing I was told to the Budget Committee, I just want everyone to go in with their eyes wide open tonight of what you're passing, that you're doing the tax increase, but you're taking about $6 million out of fund balance. And I know the theory behind the commissioners that supported that in the Budget Committee is that hopefully the economy will stay good, interest rates will stay high like they are, where we're bringing in a lot of interest on our fund balances, and new revenue will come in with the new jail addition, and things will be good. And I think maybe all the new employees might not get hired for a full year, and there'd be some extra fund balance. I just want y'all to go eyes wide open, though, that should any of that not happen, that you just remember, I don't want it coming back on me because it's not my decision tonight as to what you vote on. My job is to be the financial manager for the county and to operate with whatever budget that you set, just like all the other elected officials. And so I just want you to go in eyes wide open that should we have a downturn in the economy or something happen, we could be back next year having to do something else. Hopefully everything will work out, economy will stay good. Our capital projects budget next year drops considerably, so there should be some extra sales tax money there to move, but you are hitting fund balance pretty hard, but we have worked very hard, all of us, to build that fund balance up over the years, and it is too high right now. I agree with that. So I just wanted to say what I said to the Budget Committee, and everybody just, like I said, eyes wide open as we go into it, and keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully everything will work out.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay. Anybody got questions on the process? I want it to be clear as possible. All right, so I'll entertain, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Who did the pay scale study, Mayor Porter? What was the
Thompson Consulting.
Thompson Consulting?
14 different counties that are our size and about 15 or 16 cities. If you'd asked me before tonight, I could have had you a list. I can get it for you. I didn't bring the study up, but I'm running down and get it.
We've just done one study and not multiple studies, we've done one, right?
We've done studies before. This company has helped us do studies before. The County Commission voted last year for me to do a study not only comparing us to cities and counties similar to our size, but also the private sector. And that's what we did.
Private sector was in on this.
Yes, private sector is in on this study. And then Commissioner Williams brought another modified pay scale thing that we looked at, and the Budget Committee voted then to change the pay scale to where that instead of topping out in 15 and 20 years, you'll top out in 10 or 15 years, depending on if you're law enforcement or regular.
Is that a good thing for us to do that, to tell employees we don't care if they stay for 10 or 15, once they top out? Is that a good thing?
Well, I think you can look at it two ways. I think one, you can look at it where that they're going to get more money quicker. So instead of they're going to get topped out in 10 years, they're going to make more money sooner.
Well, some are, but not all. Some are going to make, well, I'm talking bigger.
Well, I'm talking every employee. If you're topping out in, yeah, if you're I think the lowest that anybody was getting was over $2,000. So yeah, 20, wasn't 30, is in the 20s. And those were your high-level department heads.
Once they top out, they're still getting cost of living increases, right?
If you approve them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they, instead of them getting a $600 raise each year, they'd go up to a $1,000 raise each year, and then you top out in 15 years instead of 30 years.
So if it became an issue, it could be addressed in 15 years.
Oh, you can, and as I told the Budget Committee, we have been in both directions. Pay scale started out at 30 years, and then it was dropped down to 25 and 20, and then you went back to 25. After employees get topped out and they don't get a raise over a few years, then they start wanting the pay scale study or this pay scale increased.
Why did we not do this like in intervals? Like, why did we not increase it instead of always?
So,
That's
Commissioner
the
Tays,
Budget Committee.
save those questions for the motion to approve the budget. I want to see if we have questions that are about the process. So hold that thought, okay? I'll recognize you. We have a motion. You can ask further questions. Anybody have questions about the process? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve all funds, consolidated funds, and go from there. Again, if there's something you don't like about the budget or want to change, right now, after the motion second's made, you make a motion to amend and do it per your handset if you don't care, so we can follow rules.
I'll make the motion for consolidation.
Have a motion and a second. Do I have a second? Second. Have a motion and a second. Okay. Commissioner Tays, I'll go back to you on your pace. So what was the last question? Why are we not doing this?
Why did we do this in intervals?
The Budget Committee voted to do it.
Not burden on taxpayers.
The Budget Committee voted to do all of it in one step. That was a motion made.
We've known this for a long time, that the county employees do need to be raised up.
Well, we did a $3,000, $5,000 raise last year, which helped. But the motion from Budget Committee came to implement the new pay scale. And so that recommendation is from the Budget Committee. It can be voted, it can be amended tonight. So anybody got discussion, hit your button, please. Are you done, Commissioner Tays? I don't want to, okay, thank you. Hit your button, Grover, please. Oh, it's not working? Okay, we'll do it the old-fashioned way and raise your hand. Thank you, I'm sorry.
Sorry
Go
about
ahead.
that.
Commissioner Bennett, go ahead.
So what we're consolidating is the proposal coming out of Budget Committee for the 18.5 cents.
That's the recommendation comes from Budget Committee, and that's what we're voting on tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we're voting on the funds, and then we'll get to the tax levy later. But I need to know what the expenditures are before we can approve funding. I don't want to approve funding and then something happen with expenditures. Who else? Commissioner Andrews.
I've been just about every budget meeting there is, and that's neither here nor there. 27 cents cost me some heartache, and 18's caused me a little bit, and I hope this is the right time. But I would like to see everything stay as recommended through the pay scale and all that. But I'd like to have another look at capital projects and maybe get down to 15 cents.
Capital projects doesn't have any property tax in it.
Yeah, it's got, capital project's got 2 cents of property tax in it.
Well, this list right here, what I'm talking about, what I'm doing about, proposing, is that for the
So capital projects is funded through the use of sales tax money that we come from debt service. So once a year, we can make a transfer from any fund to another fund to provide funding for something. So that we historically use extra sales tax money going into debt service we don't plan on receiving, funnel it to capital projects and pay cash for those things listed. That's not directly affecting the property tax rate. Does that make sense?
It does, but I think another million should come out of our budget somewhere to
Well,
but that's just my opinion.
I would need somebody to make a motion to cut something for that to happen.
Well, I'll make a motion to cut $1 million out of capital projects fund, because we've got over $1 million going towards the new fairgrounds that we, by doing this spending money on it to do this stuff. And there's the other things in it as well.
So we last year, I think we approved $7 million to spend on the fairgrounds.
And so what we're doing this year, we got the option on the fairgrounds. So if you want to have the fair next year, should it sell, you got to have bleachers, you got to have lights, you got to have the arena fixed and everything. So I put that money in here so we could have it. So when the fairgrounds does sell, that money would go back into capital projects. But if you don't want to do that, just realize that coming next year, if the fairgrounds sells between now and the fair next year, there won't be a fair at the new fairgrounds.
That's not all that's in it. I'm not always talking
Yeah.
about fairgrounds. We have watched, how much is the capital project? And we didn't really even have a discussion on the food budget, because that was on budget. It was laid down on us that night.
Y'all had the opportunity to ask questions, or I gave you the 5-year plan?
Plan for a vote.
The- The 18.8 cents that we're looking to raise the tax rates all going to general fund.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with
So I
capital
don't-
projects.
You can make a motion to cut capital projects, but I don't know how that affects the 18.8 cents going into general fund. So if you've got some ideas, I'll entertain an amendment.
Well, I've said my piece, you know how I feel, nobody there to do anything. And again, I don't raise this touch, I don't know that, that's just my opinion. But I would be more comfortable proving 15 cents than I would be 18 cents.
So if you want to,
And I've sat and looked at this through the capital projects and all that, and obviously I looked at the wrong thing.
so,
I'm done.
okay. If you want to get down to 15 cents, we need to cut out about $800,000 in expenditures of general fund. So I'll entertain an amendment to start cutting, and if not, any more discussion? Yes, sir.
I just have one question.
Sure.
Clarification on the fund balance, we were at 24 million, and we were like using 6 million of that, we were down now 18 million still.
Yeah.
Just thanks.
I have a question, ma'am. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Facento.
Mayor Porter alluded to the money that we're taking from I'll call it our savings, from our excesses. And I'm with David. I think the 27 cents was hard. I was here for the budget committee, and the motion was made by Commissioner Wilson to take some more money of that. I know there's a state minimum that's required, for that fund. We ran last year at 15 million. I know Mayor Porter wanted it to be much higher than that last year. We've settled in this budget in an area of making it 6 coming out, which leaves us 18. What's the thinking behind the other $3 million before what we saved last year for what we're holding on to this year?
The $3 million. Help me, Commissioner Jacinto, understand. We budgeted $6.5 million to use from fund balance for recurring expenditures.
That's correct.
That gets us from 24.5 to 18.
Right. Last year we held 15, did we not?
No, last year we ended with
Almost 20.
yeah, it's right at 20 million.
Where we ended, where did we begin the year? Last budget year, where would we begin?
Hang on just a second.
I thought it was 15, I could be mistaken.
We started the beginning of this year at 21 million.
Beginning of this year, or
July.
last fiscal, what about last fiscal year when they were voting on the budget? Is that the 21 you're talking about?
Well, and this is audited, okay? This is after receivables and payables and all that stuff. I don't have the other in front of me, but I think it was about somewhere in that 19 to 20 million range.
Very close to where we're starting this year, then?
Yeah, within $1 million, $1.5 million.
So if you look at the 3-column detailed budget, at the end of each fund, it shows you the beginning fund balance. And what beginning means is for fiscal year 23, so it'd be ending for fiscal year 22. And we ended June of 22 with $21,024,000. So we started this year with that.
Okay.
We were projected to finish about 24.5, and that's one of the reasons the Budget Committee decided to use $6.5 million.
Well, I just want to say I agree with that. I think that there's a lot of unknowns that could potentially have with the economy and, all those types of things. And there's nothing to say that we have to address everything this. We have another budget year next year, and if we're in a different financial situation, we have to make different things. I know historically the commissions every multiple years like to do large tax increases, if you want to call them large, and do everything we can to hold them as flat as we can. But I think it's wise to take that money out if we have it there, put it through there, wait till next budget season to see where we're at, because I'm not comfortable going back to the taxpayers to ask them for money when we have money in savings. And you get to a point, and I think they understand that. And, we have 2 big areas this year with county employees' wages, which is a very, very detrimental thing to our county because of the amount of people that we're losing. There's a high replacement cost. I come from the private sector. We've had to make significant pay increases over the last couple of years to retain our employees, and I think that's a great place for us to invest those funds. And secondly, I think it's important that we maintain that quality of services to the counties and invest that money back in those employees, and that's going to come back to us, full term. And by mitigating that, as the Budget Committee did so wisely, I think, on that last thing, I think we're in a good position. And I do agree if we could bring it down another cent or two in some other areas that wasn't taking from those 2 critical areas and funding the jail. You alluded to it as well, and I think that by the time the jail's in play, with the amount of revenue that's going to be coming in from that, potentially from federal things, we're going to be looking at a whole different situation. And I don't think we're robbing from Peter to pay Paul in this budget, because there's a lot of financial unknowns that I think are going to sit in front of us next year that we're going to have to consider. That's going to potentially bring some more revenue.
I've got that number for you, Commissioner. It was $20,370,741 was the previous year. And then this past one was $21 million, the number that I read you off. So it was about $1 million difference. So we're going to be about $2 million less than what we started.
We did not need that fund last year,
No.
did we?
No.
Chair.
You good, Commissioner?
Yes, thank you.
Commissioner Moss? I'll come to you next.
How much money are they proposing to cut? 1 million?
They had just said I'll let you ask them. I don't want to speak for them.
Provided we do that, what capital project are you going to cut?
It's going to be up to you.
Thanks a lot. Everybody point a finger at us.
Well, we're the voting body, so it's our decision. Yeah. Commissioner Donadio?
Just for my own gratification for the people in the audience, what is the threshold that we need to keep our fund balance at legally?
So there's not a legal required in the TCCA, but the local government division of finance at the comptroller's office recommends best practice of 20%. If you go below that 20%, they make counties do a cash flow analysis of each fund and prove to them and start sending in every month detailed financial reports about where they're at with fund balance. And the goal of having that 20% is for counties to be able to make payroll from July to November when property taxes start. Fund balance. 20% of expenditures is in fund balance. Of expenditures, yeah. Mm-hmm. So the goal is to get from July 1 to November 1st without having to get a loan, basically, to make payroll to operate.
Gotcha.
That 20% will get you through mostly.
And what percentage does this change, this reduction in fund balance put us at?
About 33.
Okay, so we're well over threshold.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Commissioner Phipps and Commissioner Young. Go ahead.
I'd like to say, I agree with Commissioner Andrews. If there is a way, and I've had phone calls too, but either way it goes, somebody not done it, be happy to. But you still got to be realistic. I mean, you got to budget at home, you got to budget out everywhere else. But I'm with him, if we can crash it any to get it down reasonable, I'd be for that. I'm for the jail and taking through these road guys, if we can get it down, like he's talking about, I'm for it.
Thank you, Commissioner Phipps. So I'll remind everybody that we are the body that makes those decisions. And we have to make, if somebody wants to see a change, they have to make a motion to amend this budget. Budget committee's not meeting again unless we don't pass a budget tonight, and the commission wants the budget committee to go back and meet again. We're on a time crunch. We've got 30 days to pass a budget according to state law. So if there is a change you would like to see, I need an amendment and a second, and then a vote. I gotta go Commissioner Young first, Commissioner Caston. I'm sorry? Commissioner Caston.
The motion on the floor is to consolidate our vote, right? This is not passing the budget.
No, it's to consolidate the budgets as recommended by the budget committee.
And pass.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. That's why I'm saying we hash it out now. If the vote fails, then I'll go to individual funds, okay? And then we'll start with general fund. Commissioner Williams.
I just want to put into perspective what this 18.8 cents would mean for most people. In Putnam County, I think we had a real estate person tell us that the average home in Putnam County is about $300,000 in value. $300,000 in value, this county tax increase would add $10 to $12 per month to your property tax bill. Now I'm not saying if that's something easy or something hard for anybody, but if you own a $300,000 home, it's $10 to $12 a month, and that's roughly 2 cups of coffee at Starbucks. For that $10 to $12 a month, we give our county employees the much-needed raises that were based on hard data from a professional salary survey. It also funds additional firefighters. It funds the corrections deputies we need to stand up the new jail that we've got. So not one person sitting up here, myself included, wants to raise taxes at any time, but sometimes we need to do what is necessary. Now, if we want to lower that tax burden somehow, we could either get $800,000 more out of the fund balance, or we can cut some stuff. That's really the only way I see it. And if we reduce it down to 15 or 16 cents, it might save you 75 cents each month. So I just wanted to put some perspective out there for everyone to consider.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Yes, I'd like to say that I feel that raising the taxes is a little more than just, any of that. It could be someone that pays $1,000 a year and then they add 100 to it, then they can't afford it. It's not only that, your businesses and everything is 40%. 40%. It's going to change rental property. If there's any way that we can keep this down, I feel that we need to. Whatever we need to do, because it's more than just, I can afford my taxes, he can afford his, but it's more than that to the community.
Thanks, sir. Yes, sir.
I love John to death. That argument gets old. I feel what it's all about, $150 a year. There's a lot of people in this county that honestly can't afford that. If you want that, I can drive around and show you. So, this may not be a popular thing to do, but I'm gonna make a motion to amend the motion to take another $800,000 fund balance to our tax rate down to 15%.
I second that.
So, hold on a second. I have a motion on the floor, amendment to use $800,000 of fund balance and reduce the property tax rate to 15 cents.
$800,000, reduce it to 15 cents?
So the penny value is 226 times 3, you're at 700,000. So,
Well, I'd like for everybody to keep this in mind. We may be doing this right now, but next year, you're gonna have to come up with this money again. And I've tried to be open and honest with where the priorities throughout this budget process. I know there's some of you don't agree with me, but I know that many do agree and thank you for our leadership on this issue. So if we're gonna speak up, we need to make these cuts. And then I'd like to ask you as the chairman, do you have any suggestions to anybody on where we could make the cuts?
Commissioner Rue, I love you with all my heart.
Here we go.
We've got a motion, we've got a motion and a second.
We have a
so-
motion second. She's asked me a question, and I'm the chairman, and unless somebody wants to point of order, I will shut up, but I can answer.
I don't think it was ever brought.
I stated my opinion in Budget Committee, and that's where I left it. And that's where I'll leave it.
Stated mine as well.
Yeah. And the vote came from the Budget Committee, and I would vote in Budget Committee if it was a tie, because we have 9 Budget Committee members. As chairman, I don't vote unless there's a tie, and the vote was 6-2, with me not voting. And I think you were one of the twos that said no. So
I'm
I,
not opposed to employees having a cost of living raise, but I am opposed to these large salary increases for the employees. I think that some of it is very excessive. I've talked to people at Hayward, Tennessee Tech, employees and around, I don't know anybody who gets a $20,000 raise. You know, that what we are proposing to give to the employees. And I'm like Teresa, a little bit at a time would be wonderful. And there's a lot of people that's worked in this county for 20 years, and you're not getting raises like this. They're not getting additional raises in some of these departments, that people have been there less than a year. So, where do we start? Do we go back to the pay scale? Or where do we start making the cuts?
you can start making them right now. As a commissioner, you have the rights, but I have a motion, I have an amendment and a second. Just to the amendment.
I just wanted to clarify something Commissioner
Sure.
Wood said.
Go ahead.
This is not a cost of living increase. This is called a marketplace adjustment. It's something that we do once in a while. And this is my 3rd term as county commissioner, and during my time here, I've never seen it done. We have cost of living increases that are usually a fixed dollar amount or a fixed percentage across the board. We also have step increases, but this is something unusual that we haven't done. And because we haven't done this on a regular basis, this is why we're so far behind, and this is why certain jobs are getting such large increases, because we went through and we studied position by position. We did public sector comparisons, we did private sector comparisons, and there are a handful of positions, not many, but a handful of positions that were woefully behind. And so we could hold up examples of why is this person getting a $28,000 raise and this other person getting a $2,000 raise? Well, the answer to that question is because that position was $28,000 behind, whereas this other position was only $2,000 behind. So this is not something that we normally do. This is a marketplace adjustment, not a cost of living increase.
All right, I still have an amendment and a second to the amendment. Commissioner Chaffin.
Man, where would that put our percentage if we took another $800?
About 31%.
So 2% out of
Yeah, and what I want to say is, you're taking $6.5 million already, unheard of in Putnam County, okay, to take that much out of fund balance. Now you're increasing it to 7.3. Next year, coming into the budget, you're going to be over $8 million in the hole starting if things don't really go well. So you're going to hit it again next year, and if we're not careful, we'll be down to 10 million or less if you start hitting it 2 years in a row. So it's getting scary if you start doing that, and I wouldn't recommend you do the extra 800,000. But now that's your decision to make. Eyes wide open when you start. If economy should turn down or something happen, interest rates and all that kind of stuff, it could. You could be putting us in a hole. Is what I'm trying to say.
Commissioner Moss?
And it's not going to be popular with you, but it's who we look to, you and the mayor. Where can we get some extra money that we got funds that we're a little fat on? You two should know. It's what you do. Is there a place we can go get some and lower this tax rate just a little bit more? I would like to do some of this, but we're consolidating all this. I would like to went line item to line item and went picked one here and one there, but it's not going to be popular.
We can do separate funds.
Please take this with all due respect.
I will.
Y'all spent weeks at Budget Committee with this. If you wanted to cut it, then was the time to cut it instead of waiting until now. But now that would be my thing. I mean, you had every opportunity to make the cuts, and you know, you got 92 new employees, you got the pay raises. I mean, there's lots of places you can cut, but that's not something that I can tell you are being continued.
Well, I'll take that with due respect, but I was on the Budget Committee, and I'm not too crazy about this. I'll just tell you, even the way it went, there's some stuff I'd like to see pick that just a little bit, but the way we consolidated, it's not going to be possible. That's the way I understand it. Is that right?
No, we can make a cut under consolidated.
But we hadn't voted to consolidate.
We can cut anything.
Yeah,
We're just
if that motion fails, then you can cut anything.
We're just reducing the amount of votes you have. Instead of voting on the federal cafeteria fund and all that, you're voting to approve all the funds, but you can make amendment to any fund.
Okay, so you guys are not going to recommend anything to us. Is that the way I understand it?
I think there's a motion on
I mean,
Yeah, I was on the Budget Committee, but I've had a lot of phone calls since then, too.
Commissioner Moss, during Budget Committee, I talked about the future, and we talked about federal inmate revenue coming in and the reduction in capital projects for the next couple of years after this one. We usually spend about $10 million in capital projects every year. We're going to go down to 4 or 5. So that's $4 million we're going to free up, hopefully. We're going to have $2.5 million coming from, so that's some money we have coming in. We have sales tax that has to go to schools, and we fund our debt service with our sales tax and capital projects. So if you want to make a motion to utilize sales tax, you can. You can utilize the sales tax if you want to. You got to do it tonight. It can't be amended throughout the year. But that will put us tight on making our debt payments, and that'll put us tight on getting the capital projects done that we have coming up. But it's up to this commission. You've asked for my thoughts. Those are my thoughts.
Well, guys, when you prove this tonight, you're going to be in the hole next year before you ever start. We were 6 cents in the hole this year. That's part of what we're having to increase because we didn't raise them last year. So we're going to be in the same boat next year. We're going to be behind before we ever start. I'm through.
But Ben,
Thank you, sir.
Can you just clarify that? Because we may be in the hole, we may not. There are revenues coming in next year that are uncalculated. There's money from the jail that's being funded for an entire year that it's probably not going to be open until 2 to 3 months fully before next budget season, where you're going to get a tighter understanding of that expenditure. So there's a high probability that some of the money spent and budgeted to the jail this year is not going to be spent, correct?
I mean, I'm not going to put the sheriff on the spot about when he's going to hire people because that's not fair to him. I'm guessing they're not going to hire 71 people tomorrow. I think that's probably hard for him to do. But I don't know when they're going to hire them. And so that's something I mentioned in Budget Committee is we're not putting employees in place for 12 months. They're hoping to get them in as quick as possible, but they don't know when that's going to be. So we're funding it like we are doing 12 months. So there will be some savings there. And that's one of the reasons I I mean, I didn't vote in budget committee, but it's one of the reasons, okay, 6.5 million, I can probably handle it because it probably looks more like 3 million, in my opinion, and that's my opinion.
And then
And that's what y'all-
also, when the jail's fully open, we're anticipating revenue, significant revenue to be generated out of that as well.
I think that's the plan, is that they're going to house inmates to bring in more state revenue from state prisoners and federal prisoners.
So as the budget committee, did you guys consider those?
We did.
Those numbers?
We asked the sheriff on that. We've considered the SRO grants we're getting from the state. We've put in everything we can think of.
So asking the budget committee, where do you feel like we're going to be going into next year in the hole, we'll call it?
Well, we're going to be 6.5 million in the hole because you're going to have the full 92 employees that we've recommended from budget committee ready to be funded for fiscal year 24-25.
But
we're going to have additional revenue, hopefully, that's coming in.
Correct.
So, but I can't predict what that's going to be. They can't predict how many inmates they're going to have. I'm not going to ask them to do that. I think that's unfair to them. That's dangerous to guess.
So to just speak to the motion of where we're at on the 800,000 that David proposed, you know, there's nothing in my mind that says we've got to try to solve all 4 years. Had past commissions put more aside when they funded the jail or different things, there's a lot of variables in there that would have put us in a different position. What we're asking the taxpayers to do is to fund money that were out of their pockets that potentially we have on our own. Now, that means next year we could come back, we might need another 10 or 12 cents next year, or 15. I mean, we don't know, because we don't know where the economy is. We don't know where anything is. But I don't think it's going to be, you know, a drastic, unovercomable hole based off of those fundamentals of what I've seen in where we're at now with the amount of money that we're taking out of our savings. You know, I feel strongly in the reason I second that motion, because, you know, if you have money in savings and you have a shortfall in a personal year, you take your money out of your savings before you go ask someone to give you money. And I feel like, you know, we should be able to do that. And now, I'd also be happy after, you know, that motion to entertain anybody on the budget committee that has some line items that they saw on the budget committee that for whatever reason they didn't bring up. Because if there is something in there for that, I think, you know, we would all be willing to take a look at it. But somebody's got to tell us that was on the budget committee, because you guys really explored it, you know, where do you think that is? So that's why I second that motion, and I will stand back to you, Ben.
Thank you, sir. What other discussion do we have? I haven't heard from Mr. Gentry yet, Mr. Andrews. I'll get you in just. Oh, there you go.
I'm just going to say, I agree with what Benny said. I know it's hiring 60 people to get good quality people from up there to process. So that's what you got to have to do what they do. And I agree with what Randy said, but on the other hand, our debt is going down this year too. Or will be going down.
It's going to be another 4 years before our debt goes down. Capital projects will go down next year.
It's on its way down. And I just feel like that, like Greeny said, you know, we've already asked the people to put the money in, it's in savings. And I'm good, folks. I think 15 cents is a lick for a lot of people. And I don't want to take anything out, because these people sitting in this crowd, they deserve what they get, and they deserve what we're trying to give them, in my opinion. This fund balance thing will touch that, will bother them. That will retain and help these people. But we also have a responsibility to the people who send us over here. And that's where I'm coming from. That's why I say 800,000, get it down to 15 cents.
Okay. Any discussion on the amendment to reduce fund balance by another 800,000 and lower the tax rate to 15 cents? But we still remember we have to vote on the tax rate later, but. Sure.
During the budget committee, we had discussed bringing it the $6.5 million out of the fund balance, and that obviously that passed in order to do so. I'm in agreement that we need to keep our fund balance strong and healthy. Obviously, it's state law, but our county's done a really good job. One question that I've always had is there any way that for increase that baseline of 15 million that we want to keep by $500,000 a year if we have a good year, continue to raise that up till we get to more number. Are we prohibited in doing that?
You can only vote from one fiscal year.
I'm talking about like next year, like I said, in our minds, our baseline is 15.5, and the next year it's 16, till we get up to a much stronger number. So if we have a major crash, because in 2 years, the school, that stuff goes away. That's a big chunk of it goes away, 27, right, 26?
2027.
3 years, so, and that's gonna drop a tremendous amount of money off of our bond capacity, right?
Yes, but you already heard the school system. They're going to be coming to you about renovating Parkview School
Not
and
as much as we're dropping down.
be close. And add an addition to the new Parkview School. I'm just answering your question.
I appreciate that. I said the budget committee, I believe in Putnam County. I believe we're gonna be strong. I believe we're isolated a little bit from all the metropolitan areas around us. I stand in line at the restaurant, and ask people where they're coming from to have dinner on Friday night. They say Bowling Green. They come down here to have dinner. Okay? So I think the 6.5 million is strong. My fear is, I agree, I understand what you're saying, David, and I'm not in disagreement, but I don't want to overextend ourselves to the point where it gets to where we're hurting ourselves, because when it's something going to happen. We still got a good safety net right now with 3.5 million over that 15 sitting there. If something crashed and burned, we still got a safety net of some sort. And I'd like to see that safety net increased each and every year if it's possible. But again, I stand by what the budget committee proposed.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mayor Porter, when we began this last budget year, we started out with, you say, 20, 21
Mhm.
million, and then we ended up with 24.
Mhm.
Is that correct?
Yeah, well, we hadn't finished. We hadn't closed yet. 24 to 25 in that ballpark there.
What about the year before?
We started out with 20 and ended with 21.
I just wondered, so every year we've been increasing at the end of the year from when we started.
Well, not every year, some years. It depends on the economy and how much the department heads and everybody turns back in that they don't spend, how good the revenues were. We just had an exceptionally good year this past year is the reason that we added that 3 or 4 million to the fund balance. So, oh yeah, and that interest is the big thing. Interest rates went up all of a sudden, and so Freddie's been bringing in. He brought in almost $3 million of interest, so that's where most of it came from. Should the Fed lower those interest rates back down, that would go away. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions on the amendment? Yes, sir.
Sometimes it's hard to get a grasp on these figures. I'm a pretty smart person, having spent 3 years in the 8th grade. I'm for the employees getting a raise, getting a good raise, to keep them and to let them know they're appreciated. I also understand that we need a financial cushion should something terrible happen, like a tornado, like an earthquake. So many things can happen. So it's quite a dilemma as a rookie commissioner sitting here to understand how we can fund everything. David, I partially agree with you and your proposal. I just want to make sure, number one, that the employees are taken care of. And I'll bend on the other issues.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Has this raise, all these raises been worked into the budget?
Do what now? Say it again.
5-year plan. Has this worked into the 5-year plan? Like,
Raises are not in the 5 year. Yeah, raises are not in there. It's
that's what the county uses.
capital projects, buildings, new employees, that kind of thing, we don't have the raises in there, Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
Mayor Porter, how much of this burden are we gonna carry into next year? You gave us a figure the other day.
Well, and that figure is if this motion passes, you're 7.3 million hitting fund balance. So it all depends on what happens between now and next year. If you don't get the extra revenue coming in, or the interest rates go down or whatever, you're 7.3 million starting next year in the hole. If you get some of this revenue and the new inmate revenue and interest rates stay up and the economy stays good, but my crystal ball don't look out. I can't tell you where you're going to be at, but the more you hit fund balance, the more you're going to be in the hole next year.
I just wanted you to clear that up for us.
Yeah, I'm trying to be very transparent, blunt, honest with you. With whatever you pass, we'll work with, but next year could be a tough year, or it could be okay. It's just,
Two-letter word is a big word.
yeah. Does that answer you?
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Mr. Clerk, do you understand the amendment? So you have it in your minutes.
I have, we're amending it to take an additional $800,000 from fund balance, which will reduce the tax rate to 15 cents. Is that correct, sir?
Correct, Commissioner Andrews? Okay.
All right, and it's strictly the amendment.
This is the amendment.
Strictly
Yeah.
amendment.
I have one more question for you.
Commissioner Williams?
I know we've said 15 million is kind of that minimum number that's been thrown around. What is the actual number that would keep us at 20%?
Well, if you approve this budget, the budget's what, 60 million now with all the increases? So 20% is 12 million.
12 million? Okay.
One thing, Mr. Chairman, the 800,000 doesn't cut you to 15 cents. It cuts you to 15.8 cents. You were at 18.8. If you're cutting out 3 cents, you're at 15.8. I just want to make sure everybody understood that.
You want to change it to 15.8, Commissioner Andrews? You want to put it at 15?
I don't want to think anymore, but I think, I don't think $800,000 restoration for a bad check already.
Leave it at 15?
15.8.
Then that's not $800,000. That'll be over $1 million that you're taking out of fund balance.
To go to
3.8 times 226,000 is
3 cents at 225, is that right?
7.
Seven something, it's going to be close.
So 763,000 is 3.38 cents. So that covers the
Okay.
800.
Okay.
So it will be
It'll be, yeah, be even 15.
even 15. Okay, so we are back to even 15.
Anything else?
No, not 15.8, but 15.
Yeah, 15.
All right.
All right, Mr. Clerk, when you're ready, please call the roll.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you'll take your handsets, we're on strictly the amendment. If you favor that, then press yes. If you do not favor that, then press no. Then stop right there. Please vote. If you favor the amendment, vote yes. If you do not favor the amendment, vote no. But stop right there when you press whichever one you're going to do. All right. Now, before we touch that dial again, all votes are in. Are you sure that you want to vote the way you voted? Anybody wish to change their vote anywhere? All right. Now I'm going to ask you to hit the confirm button, please. Hit confirm. Excellent. Mr. Chairman, you have 11 voting yes, 13 voting no, 0 absent, 0 abstain. I declare that amendment to have failed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We're back to the original motion to approve the recommended budgets consolidated by the Budget Committee. We have the motion. We're back to it. Anybody, any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I've heard several of my fellow commissioners say that they're not really happy with 18.5 cents, and they're not really happy with the expenses, and Commissioner Andrews did offer to take $800,000 more out of general fund that failed. At the end of the day, the way to change that tax rate is cut expenses, cut what is in the budget. And at the end of the day, with this budget, there's two ways to do that. There's to cut out some of the positions, or there's to cut out the amount of the raise. Give or take, Randy, the cost to fully implement the salary study, which is what we have before us right now, is $2.8 million. 3.3. So, again, I just do a little, as you guys like to laugh at me sometimes, back of the envelope math. Half of 3.3 million is $1,650,000. That'd be 7.3 cents off the tax rate. If you wanted to cut the tax rate down to 11.5 cents, do half the raises this year, we can do half the raises next year. Now, I don't know if that'll pass or not. I have not offered that in a motion. Some people have asked how we do it. I've given you a way to do it. I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? Mr. Sandlin.
Okay, just a little history of where the Budget Committee, when we started on this, and we were going to beef up our law enforcement and do the emergency medical and do the marketplace on wages, get all those things in place. It was like 53 cents. And then we, came back and backed, and we were at 35 cents, and we were at 27 and a half. I'm close. Okay, so to put everything in place, that's where we were, 27 and a half, which was $300 a year on the house that you're talking about. Okay, and I don't want to put words in Mr. Wilson's mouth, Commissioner Wilson's mouth, but he came up and said, okay, instead of, we want all this stuff, we need all that stuff to do the business of the county, we need that stuff, and so instead of funding it at 27 and a half, let's fund it at 18.5 or 6 and take out $2.5 more million out of fund balance, which is at 24, and we're talking about cutting it to 8 or 17 and a half, which is plenty. But so what we're kind of talking out of both sides of our mouth, like Ken was talking about. We want these things, we need these things in our way we live, but paying for it is getting hard. And so by taking fund balance, and there were so many variables. We were talking about maybe we're going to have some federal prisoners because we get the capacity going, and I heard numbers from 1 to 2 million in revenue, even less than that though. And then maybe we're not going to fund it all, and the sheriff will give back a lot that we didn't use and things. There were so many variables going on that I thought the fund balance was, the Budget Committee. I bet we met twice a week for 9 weeks. We had 15 meetings. It didn't just fall out of the sky. We really worked hard on this. And so if you want things that's going to keep the quality of life for us and put the marketplace jobs in place and do law enforcement and when call the ambulance it comes, if you want to do all those things, you're going to have to pay for it. So what we're talking out of both sides of the mouth. Well, we can take this $6.5 million of fund balance and go forward and go. Or we can fund it back up to 27.5, which would probably be the proper thing to do, and fund it toward next year. So we don't start next year in a hole. That's what it got down to. We didn't want to fund what we were talking about. So we said, okay, well, look, we've done these things in the past. We piled it up. Let's use it. Okay, that's not a bad solution. But it looks like to me your motion ought to be, okay, I don't want to use that much of a fund balance. Let's set the rate at 27.5. And then if you don't like that, go with what we've got it at 18.56, whatever we said, and take the fund balance, and let's work it out through those variables, how they fall out in next year. It's not, we just don't have to overthink this, guys. We've done a lot of thinking on it and a lot of planning. Did I say something wrong? Okay.
No, you didn't say anything wrong,
So
sir.
I don't know, the motion on the floor is that what? What is the motion on the
The
floor?
motion on the floor is to approve the budgets recommended by the Budget Committee.
And it's
All
been-
budgets that have
and
been
it's been
recommended. It's been seconded.
Well, I think it sounds great.
All right. Anybody else to speak on the motion? All right, so I'm going to start with Mr. Chaffin as county employee of the school system. Would you please state that you have a conflict, but you're going to vote? Well, I don't want to tell you how you're going to vote, but hopefully you're going to say you're voting with your conscience and you understand you have a conflict, but you can still vote.
I'm a employee of the county school system, and I will vote my conscience on how I feel like I need to vote.
Thank you. That's perfect. Commissioner Holmes, since your wife is an employee of the school system, will you please state the same?
Yes, I will vote my conscience.
Commissioner Tays? Any other employee that I've missed or spouse of a commissioner that's an employee? Thank you. Any more discussion before we take a vote? All right, Mr. Clerk.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back to the major one, consolidating all the budget funds together. If you favor that motion, take your handsets and vote yes. If you do not favor that motion, vote no, and stop right there, please. Either you're voting yes or no. No. Don't lock in yet. Just only do what I ask you there. You're either voting yes or no, and stop right there.
Consolidation.
Yes,
You're
this
approving
is
you're approving all the budgets recommended by the Budget Committee.
right. The whole consolidated.
We're approving all the budgets that were recommended. The tax levy is coming. The tax levy is coming in a few minutes.
Right. Hang on. Watch my hand, please.
You're approving the budgets that were recommended by the Budget Committee.
Yeah.
All right. Now, stop right there. All votes are in. I'm going to have got one locked, and that cannot be changed. You've made your vote. Is everybody voted as you intend to vote? Before we do confirm. Okay? Are you ready? All right. I'm going to ask everybody to press confirm for me, please. This will lock in your vote. Everybody press confirm. Thank you so much. Mr. Chairman, you have 16 voting yes, 8 voting no, 0 absent, 0 abstain. I declare that motion to have passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We are moving on to the resolution proposing the tax rate in Putnam County, Tennessee for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023. The total tax rate is $2.66. It's an 18.8 cent tax increase from fiscal year 23.
What is the rate then?
2.66.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the proposed tax levy?
Who seconded it? Mr. Cassidy, Mr. Williams? All right. Where did? Can't hear. All right.
Any discussion? Commissioner Donadio?
Yes, Commissioner, Mayor Porter, you sent an email out to the county commission not long ago that kind of went over past year's tax levy rates.
Mhm.
Would you mind going over that real quick for the individuals who are out in the audience, or do you have that available to you? I mean, I should have asked you this beforehand, but I just thought about it now in that email. You went over the previous year's rates.
Yeah, I just went back. We was doing some research on tax rates.
There's a copy of it right. There's a copy of it right here if you like it. This is for the people who are in for the meeting.
Doing some research on the tax rates, comparing this to some other counties and stuff, and so when I sent you this data, I thought it was interesting how close our tax rate has stayed over the last 15 years or so. So when you go back all the way to 2009, our tax rate was 275.
And this is going to put us at what?
266.
266, okay.
The lowest it's been is what it is right now at 247.2. The highest it was during those years was 292.
292.
So we fluctuated
30
from
cents below that.
247 to 292 over the last 15 years. So it's not the tax rate that's really went up. It's the values of the property. But I just had that data, and I just thought I'd share it with you.
I want to share it with the people in the audience. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Mr. Clerk, when you're ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're voting on setting the tax rate to 2.66. If you favor that motion, vote yes. If you're not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote and stop right there. Please do not hit confirm yet. All right. At this point, I ask you, all votes are in. Does anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All minds clear. Please press confirm for me, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Appreciate your help. Mr. Chairman, you have 22 voting yes, 2 voting no, 0 absent, 0 abstained. I declare that motion to have passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The next item to approve, to consider a resolution making appropriations for the various funds, departments, institutions, offices, and agencies of Putnam County, Tennessee for the year beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30th, 2024. This is the appropriations resolution.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion second. Williams. Any discussion on the appropriations resolution? Mr. Clerk, when you're ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, on appropriations, take your handsets. If you favor the motion, vote yes. If you not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. And then please stop right there. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All minds clear. Please press confirm. Everybody, please press confirm. There you go. Mr. Chairman, we have 22 voting yes, 1 no, 1 abstain. Declare that motion to pass.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Next item for consideration, a resolution making appropriations to nonprofit, charitable, and civic organizations benefiting Putnam County, Tennessee for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30th, 2024.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Cassidy, second by Commissioner Bradford. Any discussion on nonprofit resolution? Mr. Clerk, when you're ready.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, voting on nonprofits, you take handsets. In favor of the motion, vote yes. Do not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. Stop right there, please. Stop. Hang on right there. Mr. Riddle? Commissioner Riddle? Thank you, sir. All votes are in. Anyone wish to... Wait. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere?
You got it.
Now, please press confirm for me. Thank you. I know this is a little bit different. This is the way we used to have to do it. It's going to get better. Everybody press confirm. Mr. Hall, thank you so much. All right.
No, I clicked yes.
All right, Mr. Chairman, we have 21 voting yes, 2 no, 1 abstain. Motion on profits passes. Declare the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Last one. Resolution rounding property tax amounts to the nearest dollar. Basically, when somebody comes to pay their taxes, it's either going to be rounded down a dollar or rounded up, depending on where it's at.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Williams, second by Mr. Nadio. Any discussion on the resolution? All right, Mr. Clerk.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, on the resolution, nearest rounding up. If you have the motion, vote yes. If you're not in favor of the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. Stop right there for me, please. All right, all votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? Please press confirm for me, ladies and gentlemen. Commissioner Sadler. Hit confirm. Thank you, sir. All right. Mr. Chairman, there are 21 voting yes, 3 voting no, 0 absent, 0 abstain. Declare that motion to have passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That concludes the Budget Committee. Thank you for your patience and cooperation. Item C, other unfinished business. Moving on to new business and action thereon by the board. Report of standing committees, Planning Committee.
Mr. Chairman, Planning Committee, item A, consider Second Amendment resolution presented by Commissioner Bernard. Not so moved.
Have a motion second. Any discussion on the resolution?
I'd like to call for a roll call vote on this, please.
As you wish. Mr. Clerk?
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, take your handsets. If you favor the motion in planning, vote yes. If not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. And stop right there for me, please.
Can you explain to them what a yes vote means as opposed to no vote?
So yes vote means you support the resolution to ask the General Assembly to not support any red flag laws. Is that a good summary of it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? Everybody ready? All right, please hit confirm for me, ladies and gentlemen. Done great. Appreciate it very much. Mr. Chairman, we have all 24 voting yes. Declare that motion to have passed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Number 2, Fiscal Review Committee.
Thank you. Fiscal Review Committee recommends approval of the MOU between Putnam County Sheriff's Office and Highlands Academy, and I so move.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any discussion? Commissioner Bennett,
So is this to provide an SRO in the private school?
you want to answer, Sheriff?
Is this to provide an SRO for the private school?
Yes.
And is this money coming from the state?
No,
Or
no,
school is gonna
this
pay
will be
for it?
Highland Rim paying the county back for that service.
100% of the service?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Commissioner Bennett. Any other discussion? Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Ladies and gentlemen, take your handsets. If you favor the motion, vote yes. If not in favor of the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. And please stop right there. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? Please now press confirm, everybody. Mr. Chairman, we have all 24 voting yes, 0 no. I declare that motion to have passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
And that concludes fiscal review.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Nominating Committee?
Yes, nominating committee asked to consider the approval of library board of trustee nominees
That was the last one.
I think that's,
Last
I think that's, are you sure that's, says July on it? Say June on it? It's still on the iPad?
Still on the iPad.
I don't know.
I'll take the block.
Take away that raise.
There's actually no business.
There's not.
I withdraw my nomination for July.
You have any other business? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Report of special committees, resolutions,
No resolutions, Mr. Chairman.
election notaries.
Got several. Here we go. Jennifer Anderson, Betty Battle, Patty Bell, Levi Blaylock, Teresa Ellen Browning, Angela Carter, Christina Challenger, Molly Cowan, David Day, Amy M. Dillon, Eva M. Dingwall, Christy Dodson, Amy R. Foster, Chelsea Goff, Landon Goforth, Emily Brooke Green Burton, Kendall Griffin, Jacqueline Marie Hill, Rebecca L. Hooper, April D. Howard, Shelby Hughes, Penny Jenkins, Todd J. Kinney, Sheila Victoria Lanham, Kendra F. Lee, Tammy Manier, Hallie McLeod, Jennifer McDonald, Logan James Miles, Tia Orban, Emma Jean Puckett, Ariel Reynolds, Alika Rice, Deanna Rooney, Cheryl L. Sandlin, Nadine Faye Shera, Richard A. Stites, Stephen D. Tebow.
Motion second. Any discussion on notaries? Mr. Clerk, whenever you're ready.
And ladies and gentlemen, we do have to vote this one every month, so I'll just ask you, please just press yes, and we'll stop right there. All we're doing is just confirming everything that my office has already taken care of. So if you'll just press, wait, just press yes. Mr. Andrews, where'd you go? Did you leave? No, not yet. Hang on. That's okay. Where's did David leave? He did. All right. Would you please hand me his handset, Major? And I will vote him abstain. No, don't push yes on there. I slide it under the door. Hey, take David, take your handset and vote yes on the notaries for me, brother. You ain't getting that. All right, now everybody press confirm. Oh, you did great. God love your hearts. Mr. Chaffin, thank you so much. All right, Mr. Chairman, all 24 votes yes. Thank you all so much. It's always a given. Thank you. Declare all 24 votes yes. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Other new business? Announcements and statements. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned.